everyone. It's time for Tammy's Take here on the Crown City Network. Tammy's Take is the crossroads of politics and pop culture. I'm Tammy Devine. This is my take. Take it or leave it. I hope you'll take it to heart. We continue with the topics that are shaking and reshaping America, elections anyone, as a whole. We'll start off with the protests that have been taking place nationwide over the Donald Trump election. Grassroots or AstroTurf? I'll lay out the evidence, you decide. Then I want to touch on the mandate the voters sent to Washington with Donald Trump. Wanted to talk about that earlier with Kimberlin Brown, but this discussion just got so good, I didn't want to interrupt it. Finally, I'll end with the supposed chaos of the Trump transition team. Really, people? Come on. No guest today. You just get me and my thoughts. You're welcome. All right, so let's start with those protests. First, discussing these protests going on all across the country. High schoolers, college students, people who must be unemployed have been taking days off to the streets and going to the streets for days, protesting the election of Donald Trump. But how grassroots are these protests really? Here in California, protesters blocked the 101 freeway, they vandalized vehicles and buildings, and even assaulted a police officer. There have been hundreds of arrests, nearly 500 arrests of people protesting just in the LA area alone in the past week after Trump's election. Here in the Valley, San Gabriel High School walked off of their campus. What are they so upset about? I think we have an idea. But actually, they're not even old enough to vote in the first place. So the answer, I think, lies with some teachers that have reached out to talk radio and other places recently. Some of the teachers say at various schools, many of the kids were just really trying to get out of class. I think so. Trump demanded that if any of his supporters were hurting others, to stop it. Why haven't Hillary and Obama done the same about their supporters? The evening news shows evidence almost every day of the destruction and arrests during some of these protests. In Chicago, rows upon rows of buses lined streets where the protesters went to march. You could see slickly made signs all over. All of this, to me, looks like evidence that these protests are astroturfed, as Nancy Pelosi liked to call the Tea Party protests, and not grassroots. So also in Portland, Oregon, they found out that 60% of the protesters weren't even local voters. I understand that you're upset that the candidate of your choice did not win. But there are a lot of other Democratic supporters out there who are not acting the way some of these protesters are acting. And maybe the people out in the streets could take their cue from them. People vowing to fight on even after this election to try and make a difference in their party. So these protests really are making a lot of people look like fools and a lot of them are making a big nuisance out of themselves, as evidenced by a lot of the arrests happening in these various cities around the country. The question is, would you want Trump supporters to be acting this way if Clinton won? And as a matter of fact, that was the whole issue going on in the days leading up to the election. Everybody was asking Donald Trump, will you have a peaceful transfer of power if Clinton wins? Everybody asked Donald Trump that. Nobody asked Hillary Clinton that. And now it looks like they should have, because right now, her people, the people that support her and the Democratic Party are out there in the streets not making it a very peaceful transfer, shall we say. All right, so let's continue on. We, the voters who ushered in the Donald Trump presidency, send with Trump a mandate. We want and expect that he will uphold the things he promised us while on the campaign trail. Those things include curbing illegal immigration. Now, that doesn't mean we hate Mexicans or other people of color. It means we want people to come into this country with their head held high, proud of their accomplishment, not sneaking in the back door. We will celebrate you as an immigrant if you can come into this country saying, wow, you know, the journey was tough. I had to borrow money from friends and relatives, or I had to work for 5 years and save up money, or I found a work sponsor in the U.S. Here's the paperwork to show for it. I made it, and I'm so glad I'm here. We will weep for joy with you if you decide to become a naturalized citizen and go through the ceremony. And I say it like that because I've been through it. I was born in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I was adopted by American missionaries who brought me with them to the U.S. when I was 9 years old. The whole process, of course, was lost on me as a 9-year-old, but as an adult, I get it. And sometimes I weep when I think that instead of being dead in the bush in Sierra Leone, West Africa, the Lord allowed me to be here in the greatest country in the history of the world. Has America made mistakes? Yes. Has it done more good than any other country ever? Yes. Let's remember the bad and celebrate the good. That's how we want immigrants who come here to feel. We want you to be proud to be here, not come in already breaking the law and then demanding that we honor you for doing so. I believe this is also the way Donald Trump thinks. That has nothing to do with racism or bigotry. We also want him to build the wall, and we do want Mexico to pay for it. They are by far the biggest source of illegal immigration into the United States. So it makes sense that maybe the remittances that illegal immigrants send to their family gets taxed to pay for the wall. Or maybe money from the drug cartels causing so much pain and destruction here in the United States pays for the wall. Listen, at the end of the day, maybe Donald Trump will help make Mexico great again. I've never been there, but I know there are gorgeous places there. Many people go on vacation there. It's sad that drug cartels and violence and a substandard way of life causes so many people to want to run away from their country. People would stay if they thought they could prosper and flourish, get good jobs and that kind of thing. Obviously, that's difficult. So maybe through Trump, the U.S. can help Mexico get back on its feet and become strong again so that its citizens don't want to flee. In the meantime, because so many drugs and so much violence is coming over the border, along with the regular good people who want to escape their situation, it's okay that America wants to know who's coming in. It's okay to build the wall to curb the illegal immigration. Stop calling people bigots and start asking them why. Why do they want the wall? Why do they feel like they do? Trump did that, and that was one of the reasons he's been ushered into the White House. We also just want to be safe. There are so many places around the world that live with bombings, sometimes for days at a time, where people can just be out shopping, and the next moment they've been blown to bits by a suicide bomber. We don't want that here. And that's okay to not want that here. And it's okay to voice it. ISIS has said they are embedding their fighters in with the Syrian refugees. If that's the case, then yes, let's put a hold on bringing in migrants and refugees from the Muslim countries from which ISIS has said they would embed their fighters. Because if even one gets through, it can mean a lot of death and a lot of destruction that would cause so much terrible pain to us here in the U.S. And I know it hurts for some people to hear this, but the truth is the truth. The suicide bombers we've seen embedded with refugees who have blown up places in Paris, Nice, Brussels, London, 9/11 have been Muslim. The great majority of these terrorist attacks have been Muslim. These are the facts, and they are undisputed. The final mandate, jobs. Donald Trump, Mr. President-elect, you said you would help create jobs by rolling back burdensome regulations and creating an atmosphere here in the U.S. that will make major corporations want to stay here. And that would make manufacturing return so that we can rebuild our economy. We want jobs. So please, sir, put your money where your mouth is. Our mandate is simple. Live up to your promise to make America great again. Let's get into the quote unquote chaos of the transition now, shall we? All right, so finally, the Democrats lost the election. Whose fault is it? I don't think it's Trump's. I think it's probably their own candidate. They're blaming the FBI. Hillary is blaming the FBI, but of course she would. She's not going to blame herself. It sounds like they are in disarray, and it looks like they'll even be making someone who's been affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood, which has been considered a terrorist organization in the past, and in Egypt it still is, the head of the DNC. What? Democrats, you haven't been listening. But to say that the Trump transition team so far is in chaos is just crazy. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? There are some things that I'm seeing that I don't like. For example, why have Ben Carson and Newt Gingrich decided they won't be a part of the Trump administration? They haven't explained themselves yet. These were two very staunch allies. And so, the only thing that I can think of is maybe they'll go to work for Trump in his Trump organization. He won't be running it, right? The kids will. Maybe they'll go work for him, though. After all, the private sector, though, is far more lucrative than public office. And if they just want a bigger paycheck, well, I'm not mad at them for that. I'd like a bigger paycheck, too. I also don't like the fact that Trump may be considering a cabinet post for Ted Cruz. That's kind of baffling me. And then there's also Mitt Romney, possibly Nikki Haley. So all of these were people who dogged him during the campaign. They called him everything except a child of God on the campaign trail. And now he's considering putting them in his cabinet? It's a little weird. But listen, if he does, I'm going to trust him for a while on that. After all, the man obviously sees the long game. I believe he is a meticulous planner and keeps all the people who know exactly what they're doing around him to help him see way down the road. So I really do believe that's how he won the White House. And I think it's possible that he's already looking to 2020, thinking about who his challengers might be. If they're too busy working for him already, maybe they won't be on the podium talking about problems they may have seen in the Trump administration and challenging him for the presidency for re-election. I don't know. That's what I would do. So we'll see. All right. So the stories are out there now, though, that there really is no chaos going on, okay? They've made some strategic decisions, like putting Mike Pence in charge of transition instead of Chris Christie. I think that had to happen, all right? Think about it. Christie started off as a real staunch ally, but then he started distancing himself from the Trump campaign when the going got rough for a while. Remember that? He wouldn't even say Trump's name during some sound bites. That was disloyal. Yet he was one of the earliest supporters. But the disloyalty can't go unpunished, right? Pence stuck his neck out on the line even when the going got tough. He deserved to be rewarded, you see? I think that's what happened. And so because of some of those early changes, paperwork had to be replaced and signed, proper clearances had to be assigned, which slowed some things down. No big. Now things are humming along, and there's actually stories out there that show Obama didn't make any of his selections until several weeks later, and neither did Bill Clinton, and the same with George W. But suddenly Trump is the one in chaos because of it. We know that George W. really couldn't move right away, though, right? Al Gore was busy not giving him a peaceful transition of power. You catch that? That's it for Tami's Take here on the Crown City Network. Tami's Take is the crossroads of politics and pop culture. That's my take. Take it or leave it. I hope you'll take it to heart. Watch us online at crowncitynews.com, and don't forget to catch CCN Sunrise on KVMD, Saturdays 6 a.m., Sundays 5 a.m. Also visit us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See See you next time.